TMI. Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerfherder Chandler and Jim Kaiju Baker.
Hello and welcome to another .5 TMI Rewind episode where we take a older feature that we've covered a long time ago, brush it off, and present it all on its own. In this case, the 1981 classic Time Bandits. This discussion, which features our old friend and partner Mike Evans, initially was featured on episode 14 along with its feature presentation, Ant-Man and Wasp. Just in case anybody wants to go back and check out our early, warts and all, more embarrassing days. But for now, enjoy Time Bandits.
Get your popcorn.
Yep, the popcorn, the jingles, this could only mean classic movie time. So this week, we wanted to tie in something, and this was my pick. I wanted to tie in something thematically with Ant-Man and Wasp. And then it occurred to me, Time Bandits, with our gang of 6 little people. It's a tenuous connection, I admit, but still a connection nonetheless.
Well, you could tie into time portals with the quantum.
Yes, we could do that. So Time Bandits is my pick for classic movie. It is a 1981 film directed by Terry Gilliam of Monty Python. Yes,
which I've never been a fan of, but I love Terry Gilliam movies.
Yeah, and with Monty Python, I could take it or leave it. I really love that. And now for something completely different, which is pretty much a film version of all the different sketches, the best sketches from the Monty Python show. And, of course, he's got some great movies like The Fisher King.
12 Monkeys.
12 Monkeys, yeah.
Brazil,
yes.
Adventures of Baron Munchausen. They just, like certain directors just have that look and feel when you see a movie and you're like, I mean, Spielberg's all over the place. He can add his gravitas to it. But Terry Gilliam has such a specific vision when he sets out to do these movies. And they just have a very unique look and feel. Yes. So I 12 Monkeys is up there as one of my all-time favorites.
And I remember seeing Time Bandits again. My dad took me to all these movies in the early 80s, sitting in this tiny space, not knowing what to expect, and just thought it was so funny, especially the Robin Hood section with John Cleese.
Oh, John Cleese.
Yes. Watching it now, it's good to see all these little actors get their due, like not in costumes or anything, but as themselves, on film as themselves, being able to act.
Yeah, and they held their own. They, you had 6 main characters. They were robbers, thieves. They don't really have they were time bandits, I guess.
They were time bandits. Yeah, what they were in charge of shrubbery and trees under the Supreme Being.
The Supreme Being. So the premise of this movie is basically God created the world in 7 days. And there's a map where there's holes in time.
Yes.
They have stolen this map and decided that they're just going to go back through time, use these portals to go through time and start stealing crap.
Apparently, they were charged with fixing these holes. So rather than fix the holes,
they use them to their advantage.
To their advantage.
So it's a great setup. It's a genius idea right off the bat. That so now you're right. Yeah, John Cleese. You got Sean Connery, Shelley Duvall.
Yeah. They start skipping through time, sort of like the Quantum Leap kind of a setup where...
Yeah,
they stick around in a certain time
long enough. Time, though. Yeah. They're just stealing crap.
And they steal to get away, or they stay until the Supreme Being knows where they are, and then they have to go into another portal.
So let me ask you this, though. When they steal stuff, where do they put it?
Yeah, they had it wrapped in a tapestry from when they stole from
right. But eventually...
And that was a classic scene. Ian Holm as Napoleon, like just listing all these other world leaders that are shorter than him. Yeah, I don't know if this is true or not, like Alexander the Great. Little 5-footers.
Well, I actually laughed out loud because after your last week when you made that little, he's watching the little... They're basically it's the end of the French War. And he's sitting there and he's being entertained. They're doing their best to keep him entertained. And he's like, they're bringing out, they had little hand puppets or whatever, and he's laughing hysterically. And then the guy gets shot and killed. Yeah. And so they bring out all these other actors, but they're all like these tall people.
These are freaks.
Right. Little things hitting each other. That's what I like. And that was Ian Holm, who, until this point, Alien? Was that what he was known for?
That's what I knew him for. I was like, oh, there's Ash when I saw him.
Right, and he's such a stoic character in that. So to play this, and he's at the table. So basically, the bandits come out and they do this little song and dance, and he absolutely loves it. Next thing you know, they're at the captain's table. They're eating dinner with him.
Right, but so many funny things, so many funny scenes in this movie. Mike, do you remember watching this again? Do you remember the first time you saw it? Was it in the theater? Was it on cable? How did you see it?
No, it was in the theater, and I was trying to get back to the point in my life that says, can I bring that joy back into me by watching this movie? And I really felt that I was able to do that.
Nice.
I just enjoyed the whimsical romp through space-time.
What do you think the highlight was for you? What time period that they went into?
The time period?
Yeah.
It's not my favorite part of the movie, but I would have to say Napoleon in the Puppet Show really did it for me. If not that, then I'd go King Agamemnon. But I really enjoyed the ending, which, that was the thing that just stayed with me throughout the years. It said, I really like this movie. And to sort of see Sean Connery come back into it as a fireman was,
Oh, yeah, that's right, as a fireman. Yeah. I never saw this in the theater. I'm sure it was an HBO. I remember it being very dark. Again, not liking Monty Python. I watched it and it was enjoyable, but I enjoyed it so much more this time. The set design and the costumes alone are so, and I'm sure you'll get into the budget, but he made this movie on like a shoestring. The costume designs just for the 6 main characters alone, each one has their own specific look and feel. But you're right. You're jumping from French Revolution to medieval times to ancient Greece, Sherwood Forest, and each one of these had their own look and feel. And it was almost like they had a separate cinematographer every time they went to these new locations. And again, for Terry Gilliam, I guess, has made a name for himself by he thrived on low budget. Give me as little money as possible, and I'll do the best. And the visuals in this movie are spectacular. The one thing that I really noticed, which I thought was wild, which is the camera angle throughout this movie. So the one thing we didn't bring up, which is our main protagonist, is Kevin, this little kid who gets thrust into this adventure with these characters. He's a little British kid. His parents are like these, I don't know. They're like, automatons.
Disaffected consumers.
Yeah, basically. They were more obsessed with, their plastic couches and game shows on TV. And meanwhile, this kid was like engrossed in books. And so the one thing that was interesting, which is when you first see the movie and you see him in his bedroom, every adventure that they go on is on his wall. Every character that they encounter, every realm is either hand-drawn or cut out of a magazine and pasted on his wall. So the entire movie's right there for you when the movie starts.
Speaking of that, right in the beginning when he's in his room and you're panning around his room and seeing all that stuff on the walls, you see a mock-up of the Shakespeare stage, the Globe Theater.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, I would never have noticed that when I was a kid, but I noticed that was the first thing. I'm like, do English kids play? Was that like their
playset?
Playset?
It was like the Enterprise Bridge.
They work out Romeo and Juliet in there and Hamlet,
right.
And like to be or not to be. He sits there in his bedroom. And
Where's
also,
my York head? Where's my York?
I noticed a little shout out to Close Encounters in there with the robot that turns on and then turns off again. That little fake out in the beginning.
There's in going through YouTube, I came across the original trailer, which actually like straight up is hysterical. We're going to have to share it on Facebook because it's like, the old movie voice is like, you'll never see a world. And you got Palin on the side going, no, you got to talk about this movie. And he's going, in Close Encounters, you saw the aliens. In Star Wars, he's like, we're not talking about these movies. We're talking about this. You can't be selling a movie you don't even know. So it's a running joke in the trailer. We'll have to share that.
Put it on, definitely. Yeah. So our cast of thieves, of little people, Vermin, Strutter, which I always thought was a Kiss reference.
Strutter, nice. Maybe that's where they got the song from.
We have Wally.
Oh, no, that would have been pretty.
Yeah. So Vermin, Strutter, Wally, Fidget, Og, and Randall, who is the
Randall's the one I couldn't remember.
Yeah. And and I didn't never pick this up until this viewing, but they keep referencing another character called Horseflesh, I think.
Oh, he was cut.
Yeah, and he's the one that drew the map. He's saying, "Why do you think he drew the map?" Or something like that.
But he's not in this movie.
But he's not in this movie.
But he's not in the movie. It's kind of like in the end of Goonies when they talk about the octopus, but you never actually saw the octopus because that scene was cut from the movie.
Yeah, doing some research on this, and I don't know if this is true or not, but there's an author, Robert Hewison, and he puts this out there, and he did a book on Monty Python. that the 6 characters, the 6 thieves in this, all are supposed to represent the individual members of Monty Python.
Oh, interesting.
So we have Vermin as Terry Gilliam himself, Strutter as Eric Idle, Wally as Terry Jones, Fidget as Michael Palin, because he is the likable guy and
Baker,
Fidget played by Kenny Baker, who was the
R2D2,
the cute one, if you will, in Time Bandits. We have Og, who's supposed to be Graham Chapman because he was, I guess, a mess, and Randall as John Cleese, who is the self-appointed leader of the Monty Python troupe, as Randall is the self-appointed leader of our gang of thieves.
Interesting.
So I thought that was very interesting.
That is kind of cool. But yeah, you're right. These actors, they spend their lives, Kenny Baker inside the can of R2, Jack Purvis, he played a Jawa, he played an Ewok, So for these guys to actually get their due and to play an actor, to play a character that's not engrossed in a costume and is just some, background cuddly thing or some monstrosity. And this, I think George Lucas saw this and then Willow. Oh, you brought up John Cleese. That Robin Hood scene is jolly good. Yes. Jolly good.
And how long have you been robbing?
Oh, yes.
4'1". What's a long time. And then, of course, the whole, where the guy punches out the poor as he's giving him their treasures. Well,
that's the one thing I took away. I mean, Mike brings in the end of this movie when the Supreme Being shows up and you find out that he allowed them to steal the map. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's what he,
it was all a big test or whatever. But not being a huge Monty Python fan, but there's a heavy existential question over this movie about good versus evil, or God being omnipotent, like good can't come from bad. And I think Kevin even asked him, if you're God and all is good, why do we have to have bad? And so that scene in Sherwood Forest, which is like, oh, here's your reward, here's your money, and then they punch him in the face. It's kind of like you can't have the good without the bad. It was just a weird kind of thing that carried over.
Yeah, there was a scene also towards the beginning when Evil's minions, who are hysterical, by the way, they were begging him throughout the movie to kill them like in as a painful way as possible. Right. But where he asks them, where Evil's going off on some rant about how God is imperfect, and then one of them says, "Well, excuse me, Martha, he can't be imperfect since he created you." And then he immediately explodes him. That's a good point. But yeah, I think there is a lot more going on than meets the eye here if you pay attention to it. And as Mike said, Sean Connery as King Agamemnon. Yeah. Which has a great fight scene, like as when Kevin gets dropped down into ancient Greece, and while Sean Connery is fighting the Minotaur.
Yeah.
You never really know if you guys. What's your opinion on this? Is this a man with a Minotaur mask, or is it an actual Minotaur? Because
actual
Minotaur. Okay, that's what I would like to think as well.
Well, they cooked it, right?
Well,
wasn't that the thing that they brought in for the feast?
No, that was like a cow that they split down the middle, because Sean Connery brought the head of the Minotaur and he threw it out. But that thing that they brought in was like a cow's body or something, with which they split down and all the fruit comes piling out of it. But yeah, you do see like some vein stuff hanging off of the Minotaur, and it does appear that he's cutting off the head as he's talking to Kevin. So, but I thought it was very reminiscent, that Minotaur, that design, of what we saw in Annihilation a week ago.
Oh, yes,
with the bear. Yeah,
with the bear.
And of course, we had the whole the trolls on the boat with Catherine Hellman and her troll husband.
Yep.
Which then turns out to be just a hat for this giant that's walking under the water. It's a very bizarre movie.
But it's just, again, like you look at this movie and you would think that they sunk a ton of money into it. And that was what I was getting at before, which was the camera angles are all from the point of view of the little people. Like if you watch this, it's like there's a lot of kind of upshots of the regular humans. It's all shot from like their angle, which I never picked up on or would have thought, but it's interesting that he took that route. These are my main characters and this is the world they live in and this is how they see the world. Whether it was Kevin's point of view, since he was basically the same size. But I caught that a lot of this shot was, so even like the boat scene where the giant comes out of the water and it's just a slow plodding monstrosity. And it's so beautifully set up and you got the little people in the house. Do you hear something? No, I don't know. And he steps on the house and crushes them and he just keeps, but yeah, it just beautifully.
Now, this would not be complete without some facts on Time Bandits here. Did you guys ever have the graphic novel? Because I believe I had it. I think they did have a graphic novel tie-in. I don't know if it was Marvel or not.
No.
I think I have it somewhere, but that's here nor there. Maybe I'll post a photo on Facebook if I can find it. Cost $5 million. Time Bandits.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Just looking at this and seeing what they accomplished.
Correct.
And it made $42 million. So it was very profitable for all involved. You know what else I thought was reminiscent of another movie? Those at the very end when they're in Evil's palace and the very tall cow-looking things with the cow skulls and the hooks and the robes are coming after them, and it looks like they're almost on roller skates because they're moving so fluidly.
Yeah.
It was very reminiscent of the Skeksis from the Dark Crystal, right?
Crystal.
And this came out before the Dark Crystal. So so we've got
a year though.
$5 million as its budget, 42 as its box office.
Right.
91 approval rate on Rotten Tomatoes. Just some very brief trivia for you. Craig Warnock, who plays Kevin, the little boy in this movie, I looked to see if he did anything else with his career, and not really as an actor, but he joined as a keyboardist. He was a member of These Animal Men, which was a Britpop 90s band that have 2 or 3 albums. So something
Do you think he tried to capitalize on his Kevin fame? I was a kid in Time Bandits.
It's like I can see like the dirt for the keyboardist in auditions. Oi, this is a kid from Time Bandits.
Well, if the little cowboy guy from Willy Wonka can turn up at all the Comic-Cons, then I suppose that could be his claim to fame.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah. I would want his autograph if I saw Kevin from Time Bandits at a Comic-Con. And another weird thing that I read was that this is, in Terry Gilliam's mind, this is part of a trilogy. I guess he refers to it as an imagination type trilogy where the power of imagination has endless capability.
All right,
Time Bandits would be the first, right?
Yep. I would have to say Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
That would be the third.
Okay.
So there's number 2.
Okay.
You mentioned it before. There is a number 2 is
Brazil?
Brazil, yes.
Really?
So, from what I read, apparently this is about the power of imagination, this trilogy, from 3 different perspectives. One is from a child, one from a middle-aged man, which would be Brazil, and one from an old man, would be the Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Highly underrated, by the way, Munchausen.
How many buckets would we give Time Bandits? I would say 4 buckets, 4 solid buckets on my end.
It has definitely held the test of time. As a matter of fact, like I said, I enjoyed this viewing immensely. Yeah, 4 is pretty high. I might have to go 4.
I'm going to go, I did enjoy the whimsical romp through space-time.
Whimsical romp. Is that the tagline?
That's the tagline. I'm going to go, I felt it was a 3 through the movie, and then with the ending, I'm going to give it a 4.
Nice. Look at that. 4 across the board.
Because the very, very end, just that line where Kevin says, "Mom, Dad, don't touch it.
Don't touch it." And
what do they do? Yeah.
They touched it and exploded.
Yes. That's probably got to be one of the most memorable scenes for me.
Which is funny because they show that in the trailer. So, even 40 years later, they're still ruining movies.
Yeah, it does capture, though, like that childhood frustration of nobody listening to you.
No, correct.
The movie does.
Yeah, it's pure evil. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
But it's in a microwave.
They screen tested that in front of children to just see how that would go over. And all the children enjoyed that scene.
Watching mom and dad be incinerated.
I agree with Mike that, this is one of those movies where even though I've seen it many times, like when I watch it, it takes me back to that first viewing just because it's so in my head tied to that time period. So I give it kudos for that as well, to give me back some of my childhood.
Nice.
I don't think we've actually grown up that much, to be
No.
Yeah.
I haven't lost that much.
That's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Yeah. So now I think it's time for us to step into our confessional booth.
Confessionals.
So the question at hand this week, and it's based around Ant-Man and Wasp, and Mike, Jeff, and I gave it glowing reviews, so please go see it. What would you do if you had the power to shrink or grow? If you had Hank Pym's Ant-Man suit, what would you do with it? Would you use the powers for good? Would you use the powers for evil? So let's start with Jeff. This was his question.
Here we go. Let's see, a 2-parter. So I guess if I could grow big, I would have to do it for good because you're out there exposed to everybody. So you're going to have to be the hero. If you're a bad guy, there's no really good way to hide. But if I could shrink, I would definitely use it for evil. I think I'd be jumping. I'd probably go to Mike's house and steal that comic book. He'd be like, I know I put it right here on the table. What happened to it?
Right.
Next podcast, I'd be like, look what I got. So
this was a trick question for me because would bad equal doing anything self-serving? Like, not necessarily anything criminal, but anything self-serving. Would that be construed as bad? So, and at first, because before we started this episode, we kind of clarified the question. Okay, it wouldn't be just if you could grow big or small; it was if you had the suit. But I think I would I would be helpful. I would help people get in and out of their locked cars, their locked houses.
Would your superhero name be LoJack?
Yeah, I'd be hanging around a parking lot. Maybe I would,
Hey,
charge
man, you need a hand?
$5 or so for my services, don't call the fire department.
A hero for hire. I like it.
Yeah. I could clean people's keyboards at their home. That frustrating moment when you get something out of a vending machine and it doesn't fall, I'd be your man there.
That's a whole side venue right there.
Wow, you are a superhero, Jim.
That's right. Maybe someone would give you an extra M&M.
So that's what I would do. Mike, what would you do? What would you do if you had the power?
I mean, when you pose the question, the first thing I sort of thought of, and you touched upon it, was Looper. Right? I mean, who are you, the movie Looper? Who are you really doing harm to if you're, robbing banks, grabbing currency, et cetera? All that stuff's insured. People can still go to that bank and get their money after it's robbed. So, I mean, there was the aspect of, I could do that for myself, but I think I would also use my powers to help people. If you're, in the news now are the kids in Thailand that are, in the cave. Maybe I could go small and, help them out, or maybe I could go big and, bust out a cave entrance or something along those lines. So I think I would be self-serving from a financial standpoint, but helping the people otherwise.
It's not about the recognition, just trying to help out.
So I was the only one who went for evil. Nice.
I see that. We're pushing our time limit here. That film's getting closer. We're going to have to announce, though. So on next week's schedule, we were planning on taking a year, covering it for all the pop culture goodness that year has to offer. You may say, haven't they done that on I Love the 80s? Yes, they have. But you haven't gotten the I Love the 80s did not have us. So
are we going to have Michael Ian Black come on?
Yeah, well, we'll try to get him.
There you go. I'm sure he's not doing anything.
Yeah, I know. So what we've done as a consensus, we have decided to first cover. We're not going to go in a chronological order or anything like that. We're just skipping here and there. Every once in a while, we'll pull this out of the hat. We're going to start with 1982, which was a beautiful year for pop culture, for movies. E.T. was the big box office draw in 82.
RoboCop?
No, that was 87.
Oh yeah, one I think.
But we've also got Blade Runner was 82. We've got The Road Warrior was 82.
Ooh. Tron was 82.
Tron was 82. TV, we've got Knight Rider premiering in 82. Ooh. We've got Tales of the Gold Monkey, which came up last week in our radio.
Yes, it did. Yeah.
So there's a lot for us to kind of take in for next week.
I think it's going to be fun.
All right.
We're out.
Adios.
If you like what you just heard, be sure to follow TMI Confessionals of the Nerd Kind on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Spotify, or whatever you listen to your podcasts on. Also, be sure to email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on all of our socials. We're on Instagram, X, Facebook, Threads. Just go to tmiconfessionalspodcast.com. All of our links are there. And leave us a 5-star review. See you at the concession stand.